If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell icon to get the latest updates.
So guys, in our today's session, we have been discussing on the day one activities, the way how you get the access to the system of provisioning an instance, and the upgrade center, the way how it works, the theme manager, all that. And in our agenda today, we are going to look towards the topics like users import. So basically, we have been discussing this point at the end of the session yesterday. Users import, what is the basic difference between employee and the user is one thing. And then I also mentioned that yesterday, after this user import topic is done, we'll also continue with our discussion on the permissions part, which we call them as RBPs, role-based permissions. So both of that is what we'll be focusing today. Okay, if we still find time, we can look at any other topic. So these are the primary agenda: users import and role-based permissions. And before I get to the today's agenda, is anyone having any questions on this today's topics? Okay, and then coming to the Excel sheet that I've been showing you yesterday. So this is the one. So as a summary, again, we can implement success factors with or without employee central, the first key point. And when you implement success factors without employee central, then the activities what are generally performed in the employee central module, like hiring, promotions, transfers, separation of the employee, all these will be performed in some other system, and that would be called as a legacy system. The legacy system of the client, the old HR system, whatever they might be using, they continue that. So for all the employees being hired there, a user login will be provided in the SuccessFactors system, where HR SuccessFactors becomes a portal kind of where they can do their activities in terms of the performance module, recruitment module, reporting, any other things. It's just like the way we are users in Facebook, LinkedIn, Gmail. They all become the users in SuccessFactors. Okay, so the main employee hiring activity, termination activity, and all is happening in the legacy system, and there we call them as employees. Here in SF, as a talent suite, we only call them as users. And in that regard, when you have only talent modules being executed here, we would require only the mini master data. Only the main HR system where the hiring is happening, there the entire employee history will be present. The talent suite of success factors will be only required to maintain with the with the latest information, mini master information, that too not everything, only the required basic information of around 25-30 columns of data with the latest information, like what is the current title, what is the current grade, who is the current manager, current location, current department, all these things, the latest as on date details is what we wish to have in the success factors talent system. Okay, so this is what we have to look at. In that case, if we are going to call it as users, so how do you import that basic data, whatever we call as a mini master data? So how do we import into success factor system is what we are now going to look towards. And I guess yesterday I was also showing you the format, how it actually looks like. This is the one where you have multiple columns in this file, where each and every column represents one particular information item. So like this, we have multiple columns in this file. Filling all this information, you'll be able to upload and create a user in the system. So first of all, to do this, we need to know the file format. So I directly opened the file what is existing on my laptop, and I'm just showing you. But if for you, if you have to get this file format, where do you get it? Okay, so that is where in the system of success factors, you have an option called employee export. Again, the same thing, because this is an employee central activated system, you are getting this option as employee export, else it can be called as general user export. If it is a non-EC system, you get it as user export. So here in this, if you go inside, here you see this export user file as a second button, the center one. If you click on this export user file, the system will now download all the existing users in the system in one particular file format. And that is the same format. Even if you want to add the new users, you have to upload it back. That way, the file in which the format in which it is going to be exported will be the same format for import as well. So here you can get the required file format. Export user file under employee export. And this basically gets downloaded as a zipped file. We can just unzip it. Let me just open it. So now, if I say we are going to export it, the existing list of users, what users are expected to be exported out of this system for the first time when you're doing it in the client system? Okay, so what are the users that you can expect to be present in that file? Anybody? Any guess? What are the set of users? You have unmuted your device, Veena, but I did not listen your answer. I'm seeing background noise. Please mute your
active users.
No, Veena, I can't listen your answer until you come out of that room or switch off your TV. It's disturbing the participants here, please. Yeah, active users. Who are that active users?
The employees who are currently working in the organizations.
Great. So the first time when you're doing this is the first time the project has started. So okay, so there is no employee data yet. For the first time, you have to load the data. So then what do we expect to come in this file? Is a fresh
just
system.
a template, right? It won't have
blank.
anything.
Any others? Template is one answer. Active users is one answer. Any one more chance?
It creates employee profile of each and everyone in the suite.
No, don't deviate the question. The point is what data will be exported. When I export out of the system, what will come in that file? Don't confuse. Okay, so the point is that, guys, so yesterday as per our discussion, I told you every consultant in the project will create their own access for the front-end instance system. Once they get the provisioning access, say example, there are 5 consultants working for this project. Each 5 of them will create their own instance access. So now, as of now, there are 5 users who are having the access to the instance system, 5 consultants. So their IDs will be downloaded. So 5 row items you will see in that file when it is exported out of the system as user export file is going to bring everybody, whoever has the login access in the system. They have an access as an employee or a manager or as a consultant to configure whatever. Everything is a user. Every user record will be fetched out of the system. So that is where the user import is. And for the first time when you do, you would expect your team consultant IDs. Okay, so now I just downloaded the file wherein this is an already existing system with a lot of user data, almost around 1300 active user data. This is how the file looks like. And for every user, there is one record maintained in this file. Only one record per one user with the latest as on date information. And the real time when you load it, when you export it, you will find initial like around 5 or 6 consultant IDs. So whoever are present in the system, whoever has the access in the system, that 5, 6 consultant IDs is what you find here, initial rows. Okay, so if once the 5, 6 initial line items are the IDs that you find, later all the records will be blank. You can add the new records if you're going to upload some client given mini master data of their own employees. So that is the thing. Okay, and let me take a question in the meanwhile. Just a second. Yeah, please go ahead.
Hi, Shiva.
Arumita, can you please come up with your question?
Yes, I have the question. Yes, am I audible?
Yeah, please.
Yes, yes. My question is that as you are showing us that export the user file, and here in this particular success factors in this particular system, this is not a legacy system. The data is already in the success factors. Now, in the case where the client will use the legacy system, so in such case, from where we will export, from where we will export these file, actually that is one of the query. And as you mentioned that that in success factors, since as how many users is going to get created, initially we are going to have those data. Suppose if we have the 5 users, we're going to have the 5 users data, so initially that file is going to get exported. But in case of legacy system, what is going to happen? That is my query. Because in the real-time scenario, what is going to happen?
What real time also? That is what I'm saying. The real time. Success Factors is a new system.
No,
They were legacy.
yes, but where
let
there
me
is a legacy system in that case.
What, madam? Even if it is a legacy system, Success Factors is a new system. And you open a new system. You got a new phone today. You are using your old phone and your contacts are in the old phone. When you open a new phone, there is nothing new. There is a blank. You are going to import your contacts into this phone. It might be through Apple Sync or Samsung Sync, whatever. You are going to export it here. Similar way, this system is initially without any users. And this is the file what I'm going to show you. How do you import that users from the legacy system into this? Okay, client has the data in the old system that has to be imported into this system. For that, this is a file format. I'm going to train you now how to prepare this file format with all the data and import and create it. Where success factors will be dealing with, this is my format in which you have to import into the system. So preparing the file in the SF format is important for us. The client system might be SAP system, or it might be Oracle system, or some other Java based system, anything. End of the day, it is the client's responsibility to convert the data from their old system into the SF format in this file format and give it to the consultant. So the consultant will be able to upload the data. Okay. Whatever might be the legacy system, that doesn't matter. End of the day, it has to go in SF format. This is the file format what I'm sharing on my screen. Only this format will be accepted into the system. They have to convert into this and upload. Hope that answers your question.
Okay, so the client is going to share that format, right? The client is going to share their data, correct?
Data will be given by client, obviously. I don't know client's data, right? So format is what we give as a consultant, saying that this is the SF format. They have to fill that file data, all their old employees data in this format and give us, so we will be able to upload. So to fill this file format, they need to know some names, understanding of these columns, which column is mandatory, what column should contain which sort of information. There are some technical things. That is what we explain them, and they start preparing the data in that format. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Next, Akash.
Yeah, hi Shiva.
Hi, please.
Shiva, yesterday we discussed like if we are using employee central and SF together, so it will be reflected at employee, but in this template it is like user ID is mentioned and you're already using that easy system. So in the format it can be different.
Nothing. It's the same. If you use it as an employee central system or a non-EC system, the column name doesn't change. It's user ID. We don't have employee ID as a field in SF. It's user ID itself is the employee ID.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Bhaskar. You're on mute, Bhaskar.
Hi, Shiva.
Yeah,
yeah, I have downloaded this kind of data during my daily job, but I have seen that active and inactive user both are available when I downloaded this.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so all of the users available in the SF, those are that moment, that particular moment is
Exactly.
available. Is that correct? Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Yeah, that's nothing. That's not an issue. That's a behavior. The system every time bring the entire file. all the users. So there is nothing like active, inactive. It doesn't filter it out. It brings everything. But if we want to export only the active users, we even have an option there. So here in the place where you are importing, here you have this valid users only. If you select this valid users only active users will be exported. Okay.
Got it.
I have that option. So basically for everyone, the file what we have exported, guys, it's going to contain, Bhaskar, mute yourself.
Yeah.
So here you see the first column which talks about the active and active status. We only have two statuses, active or inactive. Where active is all the people who are currently having access to the system, and inactive are those previous employees who already left the company and for whom the access has been disabled. They will be at the bottom of the file, inactive. So at the bottom of the file, every time the inactive users will be sorted. So those are generally the terminated employees and all who have left the organization will be automatically brought to the bottom. So in this system, somewhere almost around 1300 plus records are active. Rest all are the inactive users who used to have the access to the system at once upon a time. Now their login IDs doesn't work. So as soon as you change the status to inactive, the user account will not function. Okay, so whenever we export, it exports the entire active, inactive, everything. And this is the existing file where for the first time when you export it in the real-time project, it's obviously only the active employees who you will have in that file. That's nothing but the consultant IDs. A team of 5 or a team of 7 or 8, whatever team consultants are have already created their own access for the instance. So their IDs will be there. The rest all will be the blank file in which later you can add the new records. Okay. So one last question, let me take it. Yeah, Suhita.
Hi, good morning, Shiva. Shiva, is it like all the fields are mandatory in this template, or we need to decide, or there are like star asterisk mark, which we can tell them?
Definitely not all of them are not mandatory. That's what we are going to now discuss about this file. You'll get to know the answers for that. And second, a file format can never show you which column is mandatory. You go to any platform, Java, .NET, Oracle, any technology, a upload file format will never indicate which is mandatory here. So you have to find it in the system. So the settings of which columns are mandatory and all will be in the config level in the system, in the front end and all you can see. Okay. So how to find the columns? As of now, I'll be highlighting. So which are the mandatory columns to be imported. So later on, we'll come to a place where actually these fields are defined. Where is this file format configured actually from? Down the line, we'll get to know that sessions as well. As of now, we'll directly concentrate on how to use this file. While using this, which fields are mandatory, I will highlight now for you. Okay. And so to continue our discussion, so this is the file format in which, if you clearly observe, the first two rows are the column headers, guys. Two rows are column headers. From third row only the data has to start. So what is this two rows of headers is? The first row will be the technical field names and the second row will be the proper labels what you see on the front end. Here if you see MI, it's the middle name as a field name, is a technical field ID basically. Middle name is a proper label what you see on the front end. That way, two rows will be the column headers that will be given. So never touch that. Your employee related data, anything you have to deal with from the third row only. That's the first thing. Next, to understand these columns, the first column is the status column, which will, as I just mentioned, it will accept two values, active or inactive. That's it. Where inactive users are those whose login is not going to work anymore. Those are the previous employees, the terminated employees and all generally. And then the user ID is nothing but the employee ID in SuccessFactors, guys, which can be numeric, which is a common expectation, also alphanumeric or completely alphabetic. All three can be supported. So here you see all the numbers on the top. Once you go down further, you will see the alphanumeric formats as well. Let me just show you some alphanumeric. These are all pure alphabetic examples, pure alphabetic IDs. And here it is alphanumeric. E1, E2, E3, 11, E12, E13, alphanumeric. So this way, all three formats, pure alphabetic, pure numeric or alphanumeric, everything is supported in SuccessFactors. It's not restricted that only a numeric number should be the ID, nothing like that. Okay, so that way you have the SuccessFactors system having the user ID called as the employee ID actually, where it can accept any format, numeric, alphabetic, alphanumeric, everything is supported. And next one is a username as a column you have, where that username is a login name, guys. So when you get the access to the SuccessFactors instance, so on the login screen, you will be required to enter the ID and password, right? So that ID is nothing but the username we call. This SF admin, what you see on my screen is a username or the login name. So some companies use the user ID itself as a username, or some companies come up with a different username. It depends upon the client's choice. Then the basic self-explanatory fields like first name, middle name, last name, nickname, all these fields you have. Next, the job title, the current job title, gender, email ID, and all. Where here a key point to be noted is gender is every time that is going to allow only the codes, but not the labels. So M for male and F for female, the codes are only going to be accepted, not the labels. That's the first point to be noted. And next, you have this column called manager and HR, where in this manager and HR columns, gentlemen, it will be accepting the IDs of the manager or the HR. So whose ID you want to assign, like whom you want to tag as a manager of this employee or HR of this employee, their ID you have to give, not their name. So the user ID is what you have to give. And these two columns cannot be blank at all. It's mandatory columns. Manager and HR are very much mandatory, such that if I don't know who is going to be the manager and I'm going to create a new user in the system, if I don't know whom to be assigned as a manager, I can't leave that cell blank. We have to give the standard string called as no_manager in uppercase letters. No_manager. Similarly, if you don't know who should be the HR of the employee, no_HR. So these are the two standard strings, no_manager, no_HR, that you have to use whenever you don't know whom to assign as a manager or HR. You can't leave that cell blank. If it is blank, that entire record will stop with error, because those two are mandatory columns. So this way, starting from status till the column M, that is the HR column, all these initial, one second guys, all these initial columns are important, that you have to maintain the data and upload. Where after this, the other columns, whatever you have later on, you have the department of an employee, location of an employee. Okay, all these other columns are something that if you have the data you can import, or even if you don't import, that's not a problem. First of all, a user will be created with that column till the manager and HR column, whatever data you give, first name, last name, gender, email ID, all that, with that mini master around the 10 fields of information, first profile, a user will be created. All this is add-on: the job of the employee, department of the employee, location, the fax number, phone number, address details. Here you have all these are the address details like this. These are all the additional columns. If client is able to provide the data, we can import. If client says I don't have the data, also not an issue, because the user will be definitely created. Okay, but definitely, even if they are not ready to give immediately in the second week of the project, down the line they'll be able to definitely collect this data and give to us. But initially, if you want some users to be created, that doesn't stop for all this data. Just that initial 10 columns of data is good enough to create a record. And in this process, there are two more mandatory columns here. There is a column called default locale. This default locale is a column where the default language is what you have to maintain for every new user who is going to get into your system. So when they log into the SuccessFactors for the first time, in which language they should be able to see. So we know that there are 43 languages. In 43, you might have activated, say, minimum 5 languages example. Among that 5 languages, which language they should see it for the first time by default is the default locale, we say default language. This EN_US represents US English. If you want British English, that will be EN_GB, Great Britain, like this. So you can choose which language should be the default language for the user, and you need not worry about the language codes. You need not by heart them. So that's easily available in the provisioning system. As I shown you yesterday, a place where we will be able to activate the language packs in the provisioning. So in that provisioning, against the every language code, against every language name, the code of it is also given actually. Let me just show you. The same like yesterday. Once we get into the provisioning, click on your project, your client name title. Once you go inside here, you have the first two areas called the company settings. So this is a place where we do all that activations. Get into the company settings. And in the company settings, as you know, you will find several hundreds of checkboxes. So from here, the checkboxes start all the activations. In the initial 10-15 items itself, you have this language packs area. And here are the 43 languages listed. Against every language name, the third column maintains the language code. Against every language name, the third column is the language code, guys. EN_GB is the UK English, EN_US as the US English, Mexican, Spanish, French, Canadian. For everything, you have a code here. You can just come here and get the code. So nobody's going to ask this as a certification question or an interview question, no worries. So you can just find the language code here. So that way, that is one more mandatory column you have to take care. And one last thing is, in the complete last, you have something called like assignment ID external, the last but one. Assignment ID external. So in this column, you have to repeat whatever you have given in the first user ID level, which is nothing but the employee ID I'm talking about. So in this column, whatever you have, the same ID what you have given here, you have to repeat it once again here in the last but one column, which is assignment ID external. That is the way you have to import. Where the reason why we have to maintain this assignment ID external is, so this is basically a new column that got just added between 2020, 2021 sometime in the near future. I mean, in the near past only, where this is basically for integrations whenever SuccessFactors system is getting integrated with any other third-party systems. So in that situations, this column ID is basically used in the integration rather than the user ID column due to some technical dependencies. So they just give that as a technical prerequisite. As a technical prerequisite, they started asking us to maintain the same user ID also in this last but one assignment ID external column. Okay, so that's it. So the first initial 10 columns around till the manager and HR column, then in between the language, and finally the last one. Okay, so this way we have to take care of these columns and initiate the user import, guys. So for that, if you have to now add a new user, you need not go to the extreme bottom and add the user at the bottom, guys. Anywhere randomly, you can just click on insert new record, add a row above, and here in this you can fill this record and you can upload this entire file back into the system. So the newly added record system can identify, and with that data, a user will be created in the system automatically. It's nothing like you have to go to the bottom and all. Here itself you can get it done. Okay, because give me a moment. Yeah, sorry for the pause. So now in front of you, I'll be maintaining one record and I'll be uploading this file and show you the user creation, how it happens. So of course, the new record, we obviously keep it as active. And then the user ID, as I've been just telling that we can achieve it as alphanumeric. I'll just keep it as demo underscore. Today's date is October and 17th, 16th, right? You guys are on 16th. Demo underscore October 16th. Okay, that's the user ID. And as I told, it can be the same as the username also can be given. What's wrong? Whatever is the user ID, the same can be given as the username as well. And the first name, I'll just take the name of some person from our batch itself and I'll import it. So I'll just take it as Samakash. Kumar, title as some analyst. Next, gender as a male, email ID, some dummy email ID as of now as xyz@gmail.com. Next, who should be tagged as a manager is, so the current admin user whom I use, Anya Singh. So let me give her a ID. SF admin is her ID. So Anya Singh is tagged as the manager of this employee. And we do say if we don't know who should be tagged as the HR, I can go with that string as no_HR. That way, till this column of HR is important. Later on, other columns, it might be department, location, whatever. If client is able to provide the data, we'll import, else not a problem. So in that sequence, the next important that you have to take care is the language, default locale. So I'm going to give it as English as the default language. So EN_US is the US English language code. And whatever you have given as the user ID here, copy that. Same thing has to be repeated in the extreme last but one column here in the assignment ID external. You paste it. That's it. So this is how you have to maintain the record, even if it is one record or even you're going to maintain 100 records, same process. Okay, so this way, prepare the file and you can get it imported into the system. And now I'll also guide you on the place where you can actually find the option to import it. Just a second. Let me just save it on my desktop as a copy of the file. Done. So I just saved it on my local drive. Now going into the system, where should we import it? Is that even this one I have shown you in the end of this session, which is a place called as import employee data. Import employee data, which will obviously be appearing as import users. It is if it is a non-EC system, it will just come as import users. So here in this, you have to import the very first one called basic import, guys. So this file has three different names, as I mentioned yesterday. One is basic import, other one is user directory. If you see this, the file what we have been working on till now, this is the one that got exported from SF. That is user directory as a file name that has come up. See, so that is also the same. And one more unofficial language is the mini master data file. Okay, so basic import is what you have to choose and select the file what you prepared with the data. That's it. On the right hand bottom corner, you click on the import button. When you click on import here, guys, here it says your file has been uploaded to the server successfully. It doesn't say your data has been loaded. It says your file has been loaded. That is the entire raw file has been taken. Internally, it will process the entire file, whether any issues in the terms of mandatory fields or any columns missing, any gender field if you have given the label instead of the codes, all these kinds of validations it will process internally. That's what it says. It will be examined for proper text file formats and all. And finally, it will import it and an email will be generated once the file has been processed successfully. That way, on your mail ID, you will receive an email notification confirming the status of your upload. So if you are loaded 1000 records, say 900 successful, 100 errors, and that 100, what are the errors? In that detail, you will get the log email or the log file on mail. That way. So, and this import doesn't take much time. So already this record have been uploaded. So if I just copy and search for that user ID here on the top, if it is created, it will even appear. See this with the name as Akash Kumar as first name, last name, username as demo_October 16 that we have given, title as analyst, email as xyz@gmail, with the manager tagged as Anya Singh, what all mini master columns of information that we have given. With that available information, a profile got created already. We click on it, system will open that employee's profile, where for every user that basic profile will be definitely get. Of course, the what data it contains is a different thing. You see every section will be blank. So we just given a mini master record of around 10 columns and we have loaded. So all the sections, all the portlets will be blank. First, a user getting created, and with that user, they able to log in into the system is also the important need here as of now. That's it. So this is how the user creation happens. Just to maintain that one additional row with the column still HR you take care, and at last language and the code you take care again. That's it. Nothing complicated. And here the next question people ask me is, are we required to upload this entire file every time? Definitely not. You also have an option here, guys. The place where you actually exported this file, you have a first button export template. If you export this, only the file format without the existing data will be imported this way. So here in this, you can add your records. So if you want to upload 2 new users, just maintain the 2 new users and you can import it. So this is also practically definitely possible. So you need not every time import the entire file. The reason why I encourage the second option where the entire data will be downloaded is, in this option, you will have the reference of the existing records, guys. So if I'm going to add a new record, initial 1-2 weeks until you get used to this file, you will have an example of the existing records, which fields are mandatory. In gender, codes only should be given. In this manager and HR, these are the tokens that you have to use. Like that, you will have an exposure of the existing records. So for that sense, I encourage this option initially. So hardly doesn't make any huge difference for us whether you go with this option or you go with the template option, as long as the mandatory fields are filled in and all the columns are properly given with the data, anything is fine. When this file is processed, it will start reading line by line every record. So first user ID, it says one is already in the database, it will go to next record. So 10009 is also available, it goes to next record. That way, when it comes to this record, this identifies that demo_October 16 is not available in the system. So then that record will be created in the system. That is how it functions. Okay. So this is how the import functionality works, where we have export users is a place where you will be able to export the file. You add new records, and under import employee data as a place, you will be able to import the data choosing the file type as basic import. Any queries around? Great. So this, whatever I have been now telling you about this file, what are important columns, how the data file should be prepared and all, similar session is what we take it with the business people. We'll ask the client for around 30-45 minutes of discussion to explain them how this file format should be prepared, and they have to start working on it and prepare the data, and they give it us that we'll be uploading. So we maintain 2 or 3 sample records and give it to them to explain them this is the format, and they maintain it for regarding their entire employee data and give it to us for us to import into the system. Okay, that is how it happens in the real time. That's a main policy that every IT company clearly writes in the document, guys. We don't deal with your data. So client data is not the responsibility of the IT partner. Client side people only have to take care, and they have to give us the data in the SF format. Then we will be able to upload it. Okay. Yeah, Paramita.
Yes, I have in the screen where you were showing us the import data. There is a one field which is file encoding, and where it is written Unicode UTF-8. So what is it about?
It's all about the data format what you're importing. So as long as it is English data that you're loading, you can just leave it as it is. You need not touch. So if you're going to import any Korean
this will be a
data,
default one. This will be a
Chinese
default
data,
one. No, this will be a default one always, that Unicode UTF-8 or something like that, or it will change according to the countries or something like that.
it is default that, as you saw in my screen now, by default that is only what it comes. If you require to upload other languages, then you have to change it. So if you want to upload Chinese, Korean, Japanese kind of text, you will be required to change it. As long as it is English, Hindi, all other languages, so this Unicode will be the standard one that you can go with. Okay.
And one more query, that is, as we know that we are already having the language packages, and where we have the technical field name that en underscore US or GB or UK, whatever it may be. But suppose if the client wants to have the data in a local language, which is not Hindi but any other local language, like suppose I'm giving an example, either Assamese or in Bengali or whatever it may be. In that case, is it possible in SuccessFactors?
Definitely in any system it will be possible, because language translation being available is different. What language you're going to input is different. The point is, that is a basic difference one has to identify. System being available in, if I say it is available in Arabic, this label is what it will be available in Arabic. Say first name, if I expand this label, first name in Arabic it comes, middle name in Arabic it comes, that way. Here, what data you are entering it in English or Arabic or Hindi or Bengali, whatever it takes, whatever you take it, whatever you input. Okay, so that is totally different. So if you want to upload the data in Assamese language, if you say yes, that will take it.
That will take it, but at the same time, the middle name, first name, the title bar also should change in that language. So that
will not be available, right? That should be among the 43 languages. That is the basic point. System, when SF says these are the 43 languages that I support, and Assamese is not in that list, how can you expect? Okay, so among the selected languages only we can use 43 languages in that you choose.
Okay. But we can write, but as you mentioned, but we can write in Assamese or in Bengali or whatever.
Of course, if your keyboard supports the other language, you can definitely do it that way.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, Sheetal.
Hi, Shiva. My question is regards to the mandatory fields. Now for the user data, you said the first 10 and probably there were 2 more fields, and this was for the import of the user data. In similar case for when we import for the employee, in case the employee central is there and we have to upload the data of the existing employees for employee central in production system in the live system. At that time, how do we distinguish? Is it the same? Are the same fields mandatory for employee import also, or how, as a consultant, how is there any place in the system wherein we know exactly where the which are the fields which are mandatory? I know you told us, but just for you may not remember exactly.
Don't get confused. The point is, still I did not speak about employee central. That's why don't complicate the things, guys. So don't try to get certified on the day one. Okay, go slow. Today what we have discussed is non-EC. That's it. When EC sessions come, we'll discuss that. Okay, but as you brought the context, I'm telling you, when it is EC also, basic import file will again have the same field, same column, same mandatory conditions. But it is not going to stop with basic import. You will be importing various other weight data also. If it is a non-EC, only basic import. When it is EC, various other files will also be imported. Employees' personal details, employee job details, compensation, phone numbers, email IDs, address details, like this, various things are required to be loaded. It doesn't stop with one basic import file. Okay, but this basic import file is required in EC also, where what all conditions I have told you which are mandatory and all will remain the same. Okay, and even I answered that point as well. Where do you find which column is mandatory and all? When we go further with the regular sessions, where this configuration is coming from also, I can take you to that place. As of now, the one which is there, how to use it is what we have to concentrate. So where this is mandatory condition is set in the system, that is a further topic. Okay,
sure.
Next we have Suhita.
Hey Shiva, I can see there is a date format, but we did not update the date. So does this everything get recorded, like who updated, who imported the file, when it was imported? And another question is like, do we need to have a certified consultant to upload or import the file?
See, the point is, instance side, it doesn't stop you whether you're certified or not. As I already mentioned, provisioning system is the only one where certification is mandatory to get the access. instance for anybody, access can be given. If I am a certified consultant, I am the lead in the project, you are a junior consultant who are not certified, I can give you an access. I can create an ID for you and I can allow you to work on the configurations on the instance side. So you need not be certified for that. Okay, if you know the knowledge, you can keep working. Second, date format that you have asked. So the date format I did not now discuss because in the columns, whatever I filled in today, I did not take any discussion on any of the date columns. So that's why I'm parking it. So we'll have a discussion when we are dealing with employee central. Then we upload the employee hire date, promotion dates, all that. Then we'll discuss about the date format. Okay. Any other question?
Sorry, just to going further, before going further, like, does it get recorded that who uploaded this file and all?
Definitely.
Okay.
So SuccessFactors being an SAP product, so that audit management is a minimum expectation. And here you have a place called as monitor job actually. So in this monitor job, so whenever you are importing, so every file that is getting imported and that is being processed will be tracked here. You see this basic user import is the one that has been completed, submitted by SF admin, submission time, completion time, when it is submitted for import, when it is completed. So 11.8 is input, it is submitted, 11.9 it is completion. That way. So what is this time zone? It's a different server time zone. Don't bother about it. This way. Everything will be definitely tracked.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
So this is how the very basic activity initially when we start our configurations for us to have some minimum data to do some testing and all. So we take this data from the client. So they might not give the entire data. We'll ask them at least give us some 30 employees data so that we'll be initially having some test data to start our configuration unit testing and all. That's it. Very basic activity. Download the file format, add the users and upload. That's it. It hardly takes 10 minutes for us in the real time. This being the first time you are seeing these many questions, but in real time, it's all about client to prepare the data and give us. So the volume of activity for us will be very less. We just explain them what are mandatory, in which column, what kind of data to be given. We just explain them. Later, it's the client's headache to prepare the file. Okay. Now that you have got the users created, say I have uploaded 10 users got created, and in that one user is an employee, one user as a manager, one user as a HR and all. I want to treat them as that. Then the permissions what each and every user should be getting will be different. Okay, so as an employee, different permissions, as a manager, as a HR, different permissions, all that. So that is where now the permissioning concept is what we have to discuss. How does the permissioning work in SuccessFactors? So for that, let me bring up some presentation. So this is a structure, guys. In terms of the permissioning concept in SuccessFactors, this is how the structure of the permissioning will be, where it basically consists of two main things: role, the center one in the green color is the role, and the other two things on the right and left hand side in yellow color are called the groups. Permission role and permission group. A permission role is the one that will basically contain the set of permissions. Say if I want to give 10 permissions, or if I want to give 40 permissions. So what all permissions I want to give, I will be maintaining them in a role. So a permission means a permission to do a hiring in the system, a permission to do the transfers, promotions, termination, all these are permissions. Okay, even to apply leave is a permission. I as an employee to update my own, apply my own leave is a permission. So like this, even for recruitment module to deal with various things in the performance module, everywhere you'll have different permissions that you would be required. So accordingly, we will create a role with what all permissions I want to have as a part of a role. So there can be employee role, there can be manager role, HR role, different roles. In every role, the respective permissions is what we select. So permissions is all about, when you say permissions are given, it's all about checkboxes. Now all the list of permissions will be listed. So when I'm creating any role, in that role, what permissions are required, I just have to select the checkboxes. Anyways, I'll just show you that on the system now in some time. That is a role. Now, once I have a role with, say, example, some 30 permissions selected in that, who should get this role is the granting population on the left hand side that you have, granted users. So these 40 permissions, example, I create a HR role with some 40 permissions. So which HRs in the company should get that access? Is there, I'll create one group called some targeted HRs. In that, I'll assign some HRs. And we will connect the group with the role. Here in SuccessFactors, the roles are not given to each and every individual. It's not individual assignment. The roles are connected to the groups. In the group, you can have the people adding and removing whatever that can happen. But it's a one-time tagging of a role to a group that will happen. Okay. So on the left-hand side, granted user group, which all HRs should be getting that HR role. Like that, I can create a group. Then on the right-hand side is the target users. Target users are those. Now, if there are some HRs who got some 40 permissions that include promotion access, termination access, all this. So on whom they can perform the promotions, on whom they can do the terminations, that is a target population. Who gets that rights is the target, is the granting population on the left hand side. Once they got that rights, on whom they can perform that rights is on the right hand side, the target population. That way you have two groups, a group of people onto both the sides. So in that manner, the permissioning in SuccessFactors is a combination of the roles and the groups, guys. Combination of roles and groups. Okay. And to define them, let me first show you an example what we'll be even working. This is an example that we'll be practically also configuring, where I'll create a HR role now. And that HR role is what that will be as having some permissions, and that role will be assigned to US HRs as a group. And these US HRs can use that permissions on the US employees. Okay, that way. So this example is what we'll be anyways practically configuring it now. And to define the same things what I just mentioned. So this is the one. A role is the one that will basically define the access to the data and the functionalities. That is, in the role, you are giving the access to the data, like what data can be accessed. A person having this role can access the salary data or not, can access the performance data or not. That way, access to the data is first thing. Second, functionality means, say, even if I can see the employee's data, can I increase the data? I mean, can I increase the salary? Or can I change the salary of an employee? That is functionality. High having an access to do the promotions or salary increments is a functionality. Seeing the salary data is the data visibility. So two permissions, access to the data and access to functionality, both will be defined as a part of the permissions. Okay. And the left-hand side group is the one which is the granting group, where all the people to whom this role is being granted will be present. And on the right-hand side are the target users. So once these granted users got this role, on whom they can perform that role are the target users. And the very key point here to be understood is the groups are dynamic in nature. So you are not going to manually going to add the people into that group and all, that will be dynamic. So how does the dynamic works? I'll just show you. So just to have a one-liner definition of the dynamic, it will be automated. Whenever an employee joins in the company, the minimum employee role is what everybody will be automatically assigned with. And if your name is given as a manager for any employee, then system will understand you are a manager, and automatically the manager role will be assigned to you. You will get the manager permissions. If your name is maintained as a HR, as an HR of any employee, automatically system will realize that you are a HR in the company, and HR permissions will also be given to you. all that will be automated. Okay, so based on the data maintained in the system, if you are tagged with some subordinates as HR reportees or my direct reportees, whatever, based on that, system can assign the required permissions. So that dynamic it is. Okay, so this is to first define the structure with the examples and the labels of them, the meanings of them, what is a role is, what are the groups are and all. So this now this concept of permissioning with a role and two groups and activity with this example is what we'll be practically performing on the system. Any questions on this theoretically here? Ramita, is that your last time or any question?
Yes, I have the question that as you mentioned regarding the role base, there is a one point where it has been mentioned that it can be dynamic. So in that case, as you mentioned that if suppose one has been given a role of a manager, so automatically the permissions will be there. I didn't understand this concept. So can you clarify?
If you are maintained as a manager of me, you are automatically in the next minute you are given with you are granted with the manager permissions automatically.
So
There
that
is
will this automatically this assignment is happening through any kind of backend configurations, or then how this automatically it is happening? So that is one of the query.
That's what you need not ask that, Ramita. Everything I'll explain that. That is why we are connecting these sessions. Okay, just wait for the configuration to start. Okay. And second, if you ask a question and I started answering, please don't again interrupt. Please wait, let me complete the answer, please. Okay. So this is in terms of the overview, guys. To understand the structure, it basically consists of two things: role and a group. Roles are to be created, groups are to be created, and they are to be connected. So how does that steps involve? Where do you create the groups? Where do you create the roles? How do you tag them? We'll see that entire config activity. So then we'll come to know how does that role-based permissioning concept and SuccessFactors function. So for that, so first we'll every time encourage to start creating the groups, then the roles. So permission groups. So you just search with the keyword as permissions. So here you will have the permission groups. You can find here manage permission groups. Or else in the system initially, as I told you, you go for this admin center. I told you, if you remember, admin center is a place where we find all the config options generally. So in the admin center, under this tools section, under this tools, you have see all as a tools. You click on see all module related config options will be available here. Module wise, they are segregated. Employee files is all employee central module related. Then going down, you have goal management, goals module, reporting area related, and then you have a dedicated subsection for permissions. And here you have these two things, the first two things, permission groups and permission roles, two important things. So here from here you can find it under the heading as set user permissions, or directly if you search with the keyword on the top as search on the top search area as permissions also, you'll get this. So first let's go for the permission groups. And in the system, now you are seeing there are some existing groups already available, where when you start a new project for a new client, it will be completely blank. You will not have any groups default given, guys. It will be completely blank. A blank page will come. You will start creating the group in a client system. And if I click on this create new, the pop-up comes where you can start giving the name of your group. Say now for this example that I'm showing, you need to have two groups. I'll just zoom in this. So US HR is one group, US employees is another group. Two groups are required. First, let us create a group for US HRs. So I'll give it as granting group US HRs. Grant US HRs with today's date just for my identification. October 16th, I do it like this. Then Now in this company in US, there might be 10 HRs or 20 HRs or even 40 HRs, I'm not sure. We can't add one by one. In this current system, you saw there are almost 1300 plus active users, in which there are Indian users, US users, Australia, Germany, Saudi, multiple country employees. SF has prepared this demo system with multi-country examples, and they maintain employees of multinationalities. In that, US employees are also one part. In that US employees, HRs particularly, how many are there and all, we don't know. And we can't add them one by one. If there are 40 HRs, I can't keep one by one adding their names here. So this acts as same like Excel. Now, if I give you an Excel sheet and if I say from this entire list, if I ask you to filter the HRs, US HRs and all, so you will try to find the relevant columns where the country as US is showing, the job as HR is showing, the department as HR is showing. You will be able to filter the HRs. Same way, here you have the filters. You can filter the people from the system on various categories based on their citizenship, based on their country, based on their department. Like this, you have different fields. Among them, here there are some important fields called job information fields, where to understand this, let me first show you. So in the employee profile level, we will have one section called job information, guys, or you can refer it as org information. Here you have the employee belongs to which company, which division, which department, which location, all this information already maintained here. Okay, so now like this, for every employee, if I maintain that their department, their location and all, then it makes it easy to filter on this department also. So that way we have these fields which are basically the part of the job information area. We call it as job information area. So here it is. You have the job information set of fields. Job information, employee belongs to which company, which department, which location, what is the grade, all this. So now my requirement is US HRs. So those employees who are working for the US business, like Coca-Cola India, Coca-Cola US, like this, we have different group companies. Now I want those people who are working for the business as Best Run US. In this system, the client name is Best Run. So Best Run US is what I'm going to look for. This one. Click on done. And here on the right hand top, you have group membership. If you click on update, as per your filter, it says there are 270 US employees. But my requirement is not US employees, US HRs. So I add one more category of filter. This time, the same, go for the department name, job information department name. In that, you search for the human resource department, human resource US as a department you can find. Human resource US. So those employees who are working for the US business in the HR department, if I click on update, this 270 comes down to 19. Out of 270 US employees, 19 of them are HRs. That is, one group with 19 US HRs got created, where I did not add them manually one by one. I got it filtered. Tomorrow, if there are 2 new employees who are joining in the same US in the any location HR department, automatically this group count goes to 21. In the existing employees, if anybody left the company, then the group count can automatically come down to 18. So that is how it dynamically behaves based on your hiring parameters, based on the way how your data is maintained when you are hired. So based on that, whether you are part of this group or not, the system will automatically decide. Okay, click on done. Your first group creation will be done, and every time the latest group created will be coming on the top on this page. So US HRs October 16th is the one that we created, and here are the 19. If I click on this 19, The 19 US HRs are listed with their names and in US which location they are, and all this Atlanta, San Francisco, all this different. Okay. Any questions on the group now, guys? The first group that we created. Next, let us create a second group. I'll click on create new, where the second group as per the example that we have is US employees as a group I want. Let's do it. So I'll just, for my naming convention, I'll just keep it as target group, US employees, same October 16th. Name is ready. Now if I want to get all the US employees working in this organization, so what will be the suitable filters, guys? All the US employees. US employees means working for the US business. I'm not calling about their nationality as US. Even an Indian working in Coca-Cola US will be US employee. Okay. So what could be the filter? Anyone?
Job information, business unit.
Business unit. Okay. Any other options?
Job information.
Job
location.
information company.
Company, country.
Yeah, that's good. So you can use both company or company country. So company means directly Coca-Cola US, Coca-Cola Australia, like that. Company country means the country, that company's country you have to choose as directly United States, like that. So you can choose any of this thing. So here if you go for company, I can search as say best run US. Best run US. This is the way. Then label in the company label itself, it gives us Western US. Or else you can also go with this parameter, company country that you just now told, where in this the company's country should be United States. Okay, company's country is United States. Anything works the same way. So total US employees. Let's not go for that. Let's go for the company only, Western US. There are multiple US legal entities, it is bringing it as multiple. So now total US people, employees who are working for the Western US as a company is 270 employees in total. Okay, so that is my requirement, US employees. So directly with one single filter as Western US, the 270 US employees got filtered. These are all the 270. Tomorrow, if there is a new employee joining in US, this group count gets increased from 270 to the further 271, 272, like that. But the requirement is quite simple here. So in the real time, we can expect some turning points on this, where a client might suddenly say, I want the US HRs to access the US employee data, but in that US employees, HR should be exempted. That is, one HR guy should not try to access the other HR guy's record. So excluding the HR department, give the access. That means in this 270, that 19 HRs are also there actually. So excluding them, if we have to do, at the bottom, this red color area is the excluding area. So from the total US employees, let me exclude the employees who work for the HR department. Human resources, US. So now from 270, if I remove that 19, 251 are the non-HR US employees that are present. So you can use this groups concept both for including the people into the group and also for excluding the people into the group, both the ways. Click on done. So this way we have got two groups ready, where one group, the first group is US HRs with 19 HRs, where the next group is US employees, excluding the HRs, actually non-HR US employees, which is 251 this way. So two groups are ready. Any questions now? Great. Next thing is we have to clear the role, guys. For this example that we are actually working on, Role is also required. That is a HR role. Now let's start creating the role. So for that, let's go for the same place here. We can actually go in the tools, the way we have seen the first one as permission groups. Under set user permissions, you have permission roles. And this is a place where you can start creating the roles. Even in terms of roles, also the same thing applies, guys. So there will be no standard roles that SuccessFactors will be giving, like employee role, manager role, nothing to be expected. We only have to create anything from the scratch, and we have to select our permissions that would be required. In that sense, so here create new button is what we have to click and initiate the role creation. And a role basically comprises of 3 parts. A role that we create comprises of 3 parts. So here it is, where the first part is the name of the role, second part is the permission settings, and the third part is the granting part. So 3 parts it contains, where in the first one we'll be giving the name of the role. Say if it's a HR role is what we give. Description is optional. And then now in the second part is the permissions. So as I've been telling, role is a bunch of permissions. What all permissions you want to give, you can click on the permission button and you can give it. Where it will be like choosing like goals module. In that, what permissions you want, you can choose the checkboxes required. What all permissions. And performance module, what all permissions you want, you can select the required checkboxes. Like that, across the suite, what all modules, what all permissions you want, you can select the required checkboxes. Okay, but before even doing that, one key point to be noted is all the permissions are classified into 2 parts: user permissions and admin permissions. Whenever you're going to create a role, the internal permissions are divided into user side and admin side of the permissions. Okay, so now the question is, what is user and what is admin? That's pretty simple, guys. The permissions what you give for the people to use the system or the user side. Permissions that you give to configure the system are the admin side. I'm again repeating, if you require a permission to use the system, then it is user side of the permissions. If you need the permissions to work on the configurations, then it is the admin side of the permissions. So now I, as a consultant, if I have to work on this project, what permissions I would need, guys?
Administrator.
Exactly. Admin side are the PS permissions, which will allow us to do the configurations. Now, if I have to create a permission for CEO, a role called CEO role, which side of the permissions are required?
User.
Exactly. CEO is also a user. A normal employee or a manager, HR, HOD, CEO, everybody is a user with different levels of access. User side level, different access. A general employee might have 10 permissions, a manager might have 20, a HR might have 40, CEO might have 100. Okay. End of the day, everything is on the user side they have. That way you have 2 permissions that are divided into. And once you go into the user side or admin side, anything, it is module wise classified, guys. Goals module, permissions, performance module, career development planning module. Like this, we have module wise succession planning, learning, they are classified. So as of now, you will not understand definitely. Under goals, there are some check boxes. You don't know what does each of them mean. Under performance, there are few things you can't know understand all this. So now our intention is not to understand what is a type of permission and all, how to work on the permissioning model in SuccessFactors, in how in SuccessFactors, how does the permissioning model will be set up is what we are going to focus here. So when we completed our EC training, we'll come here and EC related what all areas permissions are there, we'll discuss. Similarly, when we do PMGM, we'll come here and deal with what are the PMGM checkboxes, what does each and every checkbox here mean, we'll discuss. Okay, now it is to concentrate on the process. So as of now, that's why I'm going to just blindly give the full access on the goals, full access on the performance module to this HR. In this HR role, I'm going to give the full access on the PMGM module, goals and performance. That's it. Click on done. So what all permissions are selected, they all will be listed here. And then comes the third area called the granting part. So this role, what you just now created, that can be granted to the people. That is the groups that you have already kept them created, right? That groups are now going to be used, that you are going to tag them. So click on add and initiate it, where a pop-up comes in which on the top you can choose the granting population, and at the bottom you can give the target population. So here if you click on the select button, here you will get the list of various groups, in which the one that I created with today's date, I'll filter. So granting user group. So in this group there are 19 HRs. For that 19 HRs I am assigning this HR role, and they can use the permissions that they get through that to the target population, which is the non-HR US employees. So for that, here the target population of, just select the last checkbox so that this select button gets activated, and you can again search in the name of October. This time it's the target population 259, some 251 are present here. The 19 HRs from this group are going to access the records of these 251 non-HR US employees. That way we can do the tagging and click on submit. So this is how the permissioning concept works. Have your set of your groups to divide the people, and then the role with all the required permissions, and tag the role with the relevant groups. Okay. Any questions still here? And here one more point to be noted is, while you are doing this assignment, granting group, target group and all, you will have a checkbox, guys, which is called as exclude granting user from having the access to themselves. That is, by any chance, if the person who is in the granting side, if he is also on the target side, by any mistake in your logic, if the person who is in the granting, if he is also on the target, then he can himself do the promotions, he can himself terminate, whatever. So to avoid the taxes, SF gives this as a precaution checkbox. Exclude granted users from having the permission access to themselves. That is, they cannot access their own record. Even if by mistake for this assignment it is coming, because of this checkbox, it will restrict that way. So exclude the granted users from having the permission access to themselves. Click on done. And finally, at the bottom, you'll have a save button. Also click on it, through which the permissioning concept steps are covered. Creating a group, creating a role, and connecting the role to the group. All that is what happened actually. Any questions here?
Yeah.
Please.
So in the role, if I'm not saying, I think so. Can you go back to the last screen?
Role, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So you selected PMGM. So so for employee central also, can you show, is there something
Yeah,
specific?
Definitely you have employee central affected entities, employee views, employee data, like this. So specific to when
Okay.
we definitely discuss EC. There is one
Sure, sure.
dedicated discussion, then we'll come back. Any others, guys? Okay. So this is how the permissioning concept works, and now whatever are the steps that I've been showing you, the creation of a group, creation of a role, tagging them and all. So all this process is actually well documented in a presentation as well, with a step-by-step approach. So this one. So where do you navigate? So basically this navigation screenshots look old one, but don't bother about it because we are now into the latest system that we are dealing the learning. Here, just the last one, manage permission groups, is what you remember, and directly search is now the top. You need not go into admin center and all, directly search in the top search area, manage permission groups. You'll be able to navigate. So once you're in the group, click on create new group, and using the various filter parameters that you have, you bring the people into the group. the group count starts increasing. And then the second group also, create the second group as well that you want, both the groups. For this example as US HR, US employees. Then let's go for this role as HR role, where step 2 it is that this is highlighted the step 2 now. For this process, HR role has to be created. So just follow the path and there click on create new role, and 3 parts of the role as I told you, name and description. Second one is the permission button where you can choose the checkboxes that you want. Finally, grant this role as an option. Okay. So once you're trying to give the permissions, user side and admin side, you have the permissions. So you can go anywhere and choose some checkboxes initially. And finally, you can do the granting of it, grant that role to the groups. Here you will have the third one called granting of role. The same way on the top is the granting area and the bottom is the target area. You can grant these roles. So same 3 steps what we have covered is also here. So this deck is also what I'll be giving you, and already people who have already started getting the access to the blog. In the blog, in the materials tab, you will start finding the documents, similar one. So, and I'll be also giving you the exercises, guys, which is like one step, one exercise is to create a group, other exercise to create a role. Next is to assign the role to the group. Exercises also will be there, so you can also practice. So the access of the system, most probably it will be reaching you guys by Tuesday end of the day max. I hope that should be done already. If I've communicated regarding the access, so most probably by today Tuesday end of the day you should get the access so that you can even practice. Okay, and you guys yeah, that's it for now. So by Tuesday you might be getting. So this is about the permissioning model, so that whenever we are going to create the users or hire the employees and all, so the minimum permissions what they should get will be automated for them. Okay. So this is about the permissioning, and then so from next weekend is where we are going to start with our discussion on employee central module. But for that employee central module to be started with, there is one prerequisite topic that we have to discuss. So we'll start that now, which is, so now here, if you ask me to show the goals module, I have a place I can show you. If you ask me about performance, I can show you for recruitment, succession, career development, for everything. If you want me to show, I can open and show you the module, how it looks like, the module pages and all. But now, if you ask me for employee central, you show me the face of that module. We don't have any specific navigation for employee central, but we have something called as employee files. So here is the employee profile that opened, and all the data of the employees present here. As the title itself suggests, for employee central, employee data is the centric actually. It all revolves against that. So this place where the employee data is present, so that this itself is what we generally consider as employee central page. And this place where all the employee data is being maintained. So this place is what we have to first start with. How does the screen customization is done? Okay, now any changes that the client is asking in terms of the screen, what sort of changes that you can do and how can you handle it? So organization of data, basically, how do you organize this entire page from top to bottom with different sections and all? Okay, so that is a discussion in that regard, guys. So the place where we can handle the config of this people profile is dedicated in the name of configure people profile. Configure people profile. This is the one. So if you just search with the keyword as people, you get that, guys. Configure people profile. Just come to that where you get a complete outline version of your profile. What all you are seeing on your profile. For all that, here it is, the outline version of it that comes up. Where to understand this, first the terminology is what we'll understand. So this personal info, employment details, compensation, and all what you see here are called as sections, guys. These are called as sections. And now under personal information as a section, you have contact information, personal details, next national IDs, all these as the subsections. You see this here also you have it, all the subsections. And against a subsection is where you have the portlet in which the data is going to be maintained. So portlet is the important thing here in which the data will be maintained generally. Okay, and just a moment, guys. Yeah, sorry for the pause. So here sections, subsections, and portlets. That is a terminology. Okay, so we also listed that somewhere. This one, sections, subsections, and portlets. And portlet is the one that is going to have the data in it finally. Okay, so now if a client might ask me to bring employment details to the first place and personal info to the second place, section ordering can be asked. Or label, instead of personal info, they ask us to update it as personal information. That can be done. And if they say the subsection, instead of contact information, they ask me to detail as contact details. Subsection labels can also be changed. And when it comes to placement of the subsection, now currently contact information is the first one. If you want contact information to be pushed to the third place, that can also be done. That means section positions and labels are being updated. Similarly, subsection placement and their labels are also getting updated. Okay, and one last thing is the portlets. So for the portlet, what you can do in the configure people profile is only the placement. If you want to change this contact information to here and primary emergency contact from right to left, if you want to do it, then that is possible. That swapping is what will be possible again. Whereas the titles of the portlets or in the portlets any data you can't you actually cannot change here, guys. The title of called as contact information or the fields what are present or their field labels and all we can't handle here. It's only this swapping of the portlets you can deal. That's it. Only swapping of the portlets, their placement, the title, anything you can't. So coming to the configure people profile, here it is. Personal info is the first section with the label. Next you'll have various other sections with the respective labels actually. Okay, so now personal information, if I wanted to change it as the full word personal information, yes, change it. And here you have a small globe icon to even deal with the translations of it in various languages actually. So that way you have the personal information as a section heading. And then comes the subsections. Even for the subsections, you have the option to update the labels. So instead of contact information, I'm going to keep it as contact details. This way. The section headings and subsection headings both are done. Where portlet, if you see, you don't have an option to update the labels. So that is not here. Okay. And one more thing is, now the placement labels you are able to handle for sections and subsections. Portlets, it is clear that you can't. Now the placement. So if I want the personal information to be in the second and employment in the first place, just go to here in the configure people profile. Just select these menu lines against the section name, the small menu lines, drag it and drop it at the bottom. Here we can place it. Where now the first one as employment details is what it has become, and this one has become the second one, personal information. Just with these menu lines, you can drag and drop. And in the personal information, under contact information section and all this, so if I want to have the subsection as personal information in the first place, like this, you can drag and drop the personal and the others came down. So this way you will be able to handle the placement of the subsections also using these menu lines. Actually left and up and down you can manage. So the section labels and their up and down, and the subsection label and their up and down the placements, and even the portlet placement, everything can be done here. But within the portlet, what to be done and all, that will not be with us. That is, it will be in a different place. Actually, we'll discuss down the line. Okay, so this is how we created a new section altogether and save. So it is saved now, guys. With this, let us actually refresh this people profile. So after the refresh, you see personal details, personal info changed into personal information as a full word. The placement which used to be in the first place had got in the second place. And in the personal information, you saw the contact details previously in the first place. Now personal came into the first and contact to the second place, it got pushed. And in terms of the titles, so that is the portlet related if you have to discuss. So here you have the portlet related where, or let me go for the same portlet what we are dealing with, contact. You see this here in this contact portlet, the labels is what I already told that we can't change. So here also you see the contact as a portlet where you can't make any changes, where, but the point is we can actually have the placement of the portlet swapped. So here we are going for this. So this drag and drop can be working here. This way you can swap the placement, but the portlet titles or within the portlet what you fields you have, that is not this. This is not the place to discuss that. Done. So now go here. So now if you refresh or duplicate, you can even find the difference. But the placement here, emergency comes to the left and contact goes to the right. If you see now, I'm refreshing. The emergency is going to come onto the left hand side. Say this emergency came onto the left and the actual contact information went into the right. Previously this one with the data is on the left, now that got pushed to the right. That is the way. Okay, so these are the things: section labels, subsection labels, section placement, subsection placement, and even the portlet placement also is what you can do. Okay, any other queries here? And next thing in the continuation of this is on the top you have an header area as well, guys. So what config we can handle here is each and every information that you see here can be controlled whether it should be displayed or not. If your client says I don't want the profile pictures of the employees to be displayed, we can even remove that profile picture. And just beside the profile picture you are having this fields like the first name, last name, the job title, the location of the employee, all this. So here if you want to remove anything, this also can be removed. And here the header, here you have edit header as an option where you get the option to upload your profile picture, upload background image and all. So what all options here you have also we can enable and disable from this configure people profile itself. Under the very top you have general settings. When you click on it, here you get that General settings is the one that will deal with the top header level, all the config. Where it starts with the configure header fields. When you click on it, the fields whatever are displayed on that, including the photo, all that will appear. You can deselect some other unwanted fields. The division and location, two things, I am removing it and save it. So now here, if you refresh it next time, so two fields will be reduced actually. So here the two fields are reduced that way. And next thing is here you have this edit header, where background image, editing background image is one option we have, guys. Where when I go for this edit background, here you will have an option to upload some background image. That is here the currently this color, whatever you are seeing, that is already all a background image about. It's same like our cover image in Facebook, cover photo in LinkedIn, all that. So here you can go for edit background image, where you can upload your own option or choose from the library, where in this demo system it's only one library available, a library of one image available. In a client systems up to 72 images will go. In the real-time systems up to 72, like background, wallpapers, sceneries kind of, it will come. The user can choose among them, or he can upload of his own choice. But here the point is, if we give the option to upload of their own choice out of the library, we can't control it, and that we might expect some inappropriate images also loading. So to avoid it, some companies say here, disable background image uploading. If you select this checkbox, they get the access to upload, but I mean, they'll be able to change the image, but not as an upload, only from the existing list they can choose from. So that is allow employees to edit background image as an option. First, that has to be activated. So only if this is activated, you get the second one. Allow employees to edit background image. That is this permission. Next, about me. This about me is an option, guys, where you will have to either upload a video file recording about yourself, or another one is the one that you have to actually describe yourself in the name in the form of text. So two things. If you are comfortable with preparing a selfie video kind of, you can do it. Or here using this, you can also write it in the form of a text, and you can also convey about yourself as an about me, as a bio. Two options. So that is this. Allow employees to upload a video and all. Next, allow employees to upload. These both are same, guys. Why the one is video and other is the text, introductory text. These last two. The second one is allow employees to upload an audio file. So what does this audio file upload mean is, here you have this last checkbox as my name. So this is a place where you will be able to upload your voice, that is with your name, like Shiva as my name, or Suresh as my name, somebody. So the way how your name has to be pronounced, you can pronounce it, record it, that 1 2 second thing. You upload that audio file here, so that here against your profile, that mic icon comes up, so that we can listen how the way the name should be pronounced, and we can easily find it. So generally, whenever we work with our Japanese counterparts, Chinese counterparts and all, we find difficulty in addressing their names, and obviously they. So to make sure that nobody gets offended with their name, so it's better we properly maintain it. So here we have that audio icon that comes up if you uploaded a recording, and you can play it and get to know how your name should be pronounced, and you can do it. So these are all header level, this photo to be displayed or not, the name and additional options, and the edit header level, these things, everything is what you can control from this header level, the general settings level in the configure people profile. And you have one more thing called show percent complete, guys. That is this, as it's showing 94. My profile is 94% complete with few areas of pending, but it's a good score, 94%. So whether this has to be displayed or not is the first thing you can choose. This one, show percentage complete as the checkbox. This one actually. Okay. And one more thing is here, you can look at your own profile completion, but if you're going to attend others' profile, if I'm going to search as Alex as an admin, if I want to go into Alex profile, yes, you'll be able to open Alex profile, but here in the Alex profile, we are not able to see the percentage completion on the right hand side. Where on my own profile, that is on Anya Singh, on her own profile, she is able to, but on others, she is not able to. That way. So that is, do you want that percentage completion or not is the first thing. Okay. Any other queries here, guys?
I had one query actually. I raised hand for a long time. It's
Yeah,
regarding
sorry.
the,
Yeah, please go ahead.
that was regarding the portlet. So if you just, as you mentioned that the portlet, the title, we will not be able to change it, but we can swap it. So can you please go to that particular screen?
Yeah, configure people profile, contact information. This is the one.
Yes, yes. Here in the right hand side, there is an option that links and there is a add button. So what is it? What is this link about and what is this add button about?
Hyperlink. If you just want to add any hyperlink on the portlet, you want to see it. Say while you're preparing the, when you're trying to add some data, if you want any hyperlinks to be displayed on the portlet, you can use it. There's an example while the user is filling the screen, if he needs to be redirected to somebody else, some place, some other place, and there he'll find some guidelines and all to fill this portlet, you can refer it. Okay.
No, I didn't get it. No, come again once more.
Here, while filling this portlet, while filling this information, if you want to pass some guidelines, so that will be available in some other website. Here you want to users to click on that link. Say example, COVID related, they are filling something. And while filling this, they want to see the guidelines. You can provide a link here against the portlet title. Where clicking on that link, they'll be redirected to some website, whatever you give. From there, they'll be able to read the do's and don'ts. Accordingly, they can fill this portlet that way.
Okay.
Any others? Perfect. So this is the prerequisite topic to start with the Employee Central structural level discussion. First of all, we were able to look at this. So in the next session, directly we'll start with our discussion on the Employee Central structure, guys. That is the core structure of Employee Central, what it contains. So that entire module of Employee Central basically runs on some important data models. So what are those data models? All that will be a discussion on next Saturday. Okay. And yeah, sorry, there is a question. Yeah, Suhita.
Shiva, about the percentage completion, which only the user or the profile I can see it, but we being an HR, if we want to see that whoever has completed how many percentage, because some people do not complete unless it is like, mandatory. So how can we see that?
Report. You have to generate the reports.
Okay.
Any others? Fine, guys. So this is for now. Let's again get back next weekend.
Thank you for attending the session. I hope you all enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, feel free to ask your questions in the comment section below, and we will reply to them at the earliest.